Hey everyone, today we're painting this really cool and simple top-down view of a boat in some shallow waters, so let's get started. Alright, so the first thing, I'm putting down a color base for our seabed. For quite some time I wanted to capture a scene like this with a really nice bright lighting and this cool contrast between the watercolor and our boat. So honestly, the toughest part is the beginning when we have to construct our boat, and firstly you have to decide what's the angle of the camera that you want to have. Would be a good idea to look for some images and references. You can find online various types of boats, and then you can design your object from there. I'm trying to add a few details, like a container, a little table with some notes or maps, things like that, a couple of engines and so on. This will add a little bit of realism to your design. And it might seem like I'm eyeballing the perspective, and it's kind of true. I'm just imagining a vanishing point of page where all the straight lines converge. Now, since we have this top-down angle, it's allowing us to do this without too much hassle. And we can start thinking about the seabed and how we can sculpt the ground. With a large brush in the beginning, you can put down some marks to show the deeper areas, and again returning now to fill in our boat with flat color and start thinking about the color design. So the goal here is to create a nice contrast between the cyan group of colors of the sea and the warm and neutral tones of the boat. Just grab any brush you're comfortable with, as well as your reference images, and start filling in the line work that you have already there. Now, in order to portray the boat as it's floating above the ground, we can indicate this with its shadow, of course, so we'll detach it and sell the idea that the object is afloat. Now, how far do you want to push it is completely up to you. Just keep in mind that the further away the boat is from the seabed, the blurrier and less noticeable is going to be the shadow. Now, how to describe the ground? I think the easiest is to just grab a very large textured brush, glaze a few times on top of it, and create some textural noise information indicating the rough sandy texture. And from there you can then switch to some medium brush strokes and continue to describe which areas are in the shadow and which ones are exposed to light. Notice how quickly you can show that the ground floor is deeper just by putting some darker values. Just make sure that the gradient towards the darker tone is quite abrupt to sell the idea that there is no light in that area. And we have to continue to describe the rest of the land as well, and here it's literally about your creative decisions mainly. Maybe you want to place some coral reefs, or maybe you want to show some other sunken ship, for example, and things like that. Really just grab your reference images, make sure your values are accurate and you describe things correctly. Now, there are a couple of things we can do to sell the idea that whatever you paint is underwater. For one thing, try to use the smudge tool a bit more often and make sure not all your edges are sharp. Make sure not all of your edges are sharp. Make sure that not all of your edges are sharp, because it's underwater and the light is a bit diffuse, so everything looks a little bit softer. And of course there are more obvious things, like don't forget to show ripples on the water from the boat, some distortions, things like that on the surface of water also might help. After you've been spending some time on the environment, it's time to get back to the boat and continue to detail it. We have a good base for it right now, so it's all about smaller details, like describing the forms a little bit better and adding some textures and information like that. In general, the best way to look at it whenever you start a painting is to begin with the larger things, you know, like bigger shapes first, and then bigger volumes, and then switch to finer details and nuances. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps a lot. Thanks again for watching till the end, and I hope to see you in the next one, coming soon.